Satria, our new show. Now, we're still in discussion about fitness and exercise for children with Dr. Kurniawan Satria Denta. Now, we talked before about how, duration-wise that kids can be in a physical activity state. Now, what I want to know now is how much is too much for the kids? You say 1 hour a day for, let's say, a week. But how much is too much? Because I'm asking this because now my kid is now starting to ask to do more and more and more. Me and my wife were just thinking, yeah, maybe that's a little too much.
What do you feed your kid? That's my next question. I was just kidding.
And maybe get to that after that.
Yeah, after that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sometimes it's hard for us. It's difficult for us to, determine or evaluate their whether it's too much or not because they have a different energy level with adults, right?
We don't
their
relate
battery health
anymore.
their battery health is really still full. It's unlike us. Sometimes us when we just have a half an hour physical activity, we're already tired and exhausted. But them maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, they can still running around here and there. So maybe we can still always evaluate the kids because between one kid to another can be different.
Right.
First, we can evaluate whether they have a good sleep or not. Yeah, it's like usually if they had a good sleep, meaning okay.
Right.
And then of course after that we see the daily activity.
Right.
Let's see if it's too much, of course the daily activity will be affected. Like they look tired every day, like all the time. Then it's time to reevaluate the physical activity level. But usually they can't manage by themselves, of course. Even especially for the kids above 6 or above 7, they already know when they're tired, and then
They can already communicate.
yeah, they can already communicate. But sometimes they just lie down when they're
just
tired.
nap all of a sudden.
They just nap. So
You're
they
right.
don't
Now
hold
that you
themselves.
mentioned it, that happened to my son just in the past month, because he doesn't take naps, and these days. But all of a sudden, in the past month, I saw like 4 times. All of a sudden, he was watching TV during the day, and then
yeah.
oh, okay, I guess he's
Good
tired.
job, school.
Yeah, there you go, that too.
Good
Okay,
job.
buddy, so we have to just watch for the signs,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
If they are physically tired or not.
Always evaluate our kids during their physical activity, of course.
So my next question would be nutrition, because I understand that it is also important to encourage the kids to be able to be active, to also give them the right kind of nutrition to be able to sustain the energy. And what would you suggest for parents to pay attention in terms of nutrition to give to their kids? Because right now, I don't know, because we're ex-athletes, and really for ourselves as an adults, we're very nitpicky about what we eat to be able to sustain physical activity. But what is it for kids? What do they have to make sure to eat, to consume, to make sure that they also get to enjoy an active life?
Well, for kids, of course, they have their own metabolism, and they have their own self-regulatory within their body. So actually, kids can know which macronutrient or which nutrient they're currently lacking. So that's why sometimes we can see why my kids always only eating protein or only eating like the chicken or like the fish, because their body send a signal that they're lacking of protein. So they're eating plenty of chicken or something like that, or maybe.
So without us even pushing it.
Yeah, because sometimes we also happen like that, right? There's sometimes we have the urge to eat more meat,
just
right?
A little
Or
bit more.
sometimes we have the urge to eat more veggies or something like that, because in our body we have the self-regulatory. So the most important thing is what not to eat.
Okay.
What's not to eat? What's not to eat? First, of course, the excessive sugar.
Yeah.
Because when we give excessive sugar to the kids, above 25 grams daily.
This is added sugar, right?
Yeah, added sugar, like sugar from the sweetened beverage, like the corn syrup or something like that. If it's above 25 grams per day, it will affect their metabolism. So they cannot do that anymore. The body cannot self-regulate anymore, and then it will drain their energy. So for them to become easily tired. Of course, it's other than the obesity and diabetes. Of course, that's the thing that most of the people didn't realize. And excessive sugar, excessive salt, and stay as far as possible from ultra-processed food.
Ultra-processed.
Yeah, that's it. Everything, if it's real food, it's okay. So just go moderately. Don't push too much. Like we don't need to just avoid rice or avoid some
that's not-
avoid fried things.
Right.
Not really like that. So just do everything in moderate, and then as much as possible do with the real food.
Real food.
Real food.
So is it a good rule of thumb that if you have, I mean, if it's a home-cooked meal is always better than, let's say, going out and buying something from the restaurant?
Yeah, at
fast food?
least like what makes a home cooked meal better is because we can control what's
Right.
inside,
Consumed,
what
yeah.
we consume, and then it also can be a good example for the kids also. And then it's watch of the physical activity, preparing the food. It's become more stimulating for them also.
Ah, yeah, cooking does take some
Cooking
energy
does.
as well,
You're
right?
You're you're right. And cleaning after them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, cleaning after them. Or they should learn to clean after themselves as early
And
as possible.
There goes your 1 hour.
That's the one
there
of
you
physical
go.
activity.
That's right. Now, how? Well, we've mentioned this before, but how can we set a fun environment for the kids to enjoy moving? Because I understand that gadgets and TVs can be, how do you say, can be very. In Indonesian, it's menggoda, right?
Oh, yeah,
It can be
yeah,
very
yeah.
tempting. That's
Very
right.
tempting,
Very
yes.
tempting. So, how can we create an environment for them to encourage for them to like to move? Other than us being the role models.
Yes, of course we have to set some rules with the kids. Yes, the gadget can be very tempting, and gadget was designed to be that tempting, so the kids can focus on the gadget every time or every day as much as possible. But we have to set some rules, and then because children have to follow their parents' rules, right? That you cannot say like for 2 until 5 years old cannot be more than 1 hour, maximum 2 hours of screen time daily, right? So we set that rules, and usually, I mean like basically kids they don't like the screen time. What they like is physical activity. So we have to encourage them to do the physical activity because they are lacking of choices from physical activity, and they go to the screen time. And then of course the role model, and then the good environment.
Yeah, and it's very challenging because if you have the luxury of living in a the development area where it's safe for kids to ride a
Go out,
bike,
ride a
go out
bike.
with their friends, and they have like little parks,
Right.
it would be very easy. But I hope that all areas in Indonesia someday will come to that level of safety where the kids can easily just move around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and Doc, what can we do, parents especially, to support? Because again, we talked about how much is too much, but because sometimes again, right now my son is in K2, just graduated K2, about to go to first grade. We know there's some physical activities happening at school, but then again, we know sometimes when he comes back from school, he's telling me all about his days and saying that this happened, that didn't happen. We're just wondering if anything that we can do parents-wise, and then maybe we can talk to their teachers to make sure that their physical activities are actually set up in a proper way, or maybe enough for the kids to do.
Well, of
that
course,
we can help?
Discussion between the parents and the teacher is quite essential, right?
Right.
So we have to make sure first, like, does the school have the curricula for our the activity plan? Usually, for nowadays, like the preschool, kindergarten, or even the primary school, they have like the planned activity plan, or even like we have PNE, right? PA class, and then in the PE class, usually we can learn, or we can evaluate whether the kids will have enough or not. But usually school have their own standard, and then what we have to make sure is whether our kids follow that standard or not. Sometimes because that can be signed that we have to bring our kids to
Something
pediatrician,
extra.
something extra for stimulation or for developmental
So what would be signs like? What would be signs that would hinder children from enjoying an active life, other than obesity? Because obesity is literally, it's the consequence of the lack of movement. But there are certain cases where it's hard for children to be moving too much because of, let's say something common in children, usually sometimes asthma or things like that. What are some of the risk factors that parents also need to understand? Because I hope that, that there are some parents who are very ambitious and then they go, my child is doing this, but how can we properly measure the capability of a child?
Well, regarding fitness level, then yeah. For start, we can compare our kids to another kids like in the class. So whether they can keep up with other kids or not. Usually that can be an easy parameter for us to know whether our kids have a similar or comparable physical activity or not. Of course, other than that, of course, we have to know the health, the medical history, the health risk factor, like comorbid underlying condition like asthma, of course, allergy, or even like autoimmune disease that can be precipitated or can be triggered during physical activity. We have to know, and then we have to inform the teacher also about the risk factor.
Okay, so that's really good actually, just to compare to get to the parameters as easily as having to make sure that the kid, your kid, our kid is actually able to do everything as his friends, right? So now we want to talk about screen time.
We already talked about that.
No, not that one. Is it really super bad to have them, or is it again back in moderation? I think that's a really key word on this whole screen time thing.
Yes, I mean like for screen time, of course, because of what we call moderation is really low.
Very low.
Very low, like 1 or 2 hours maximum. That's
it's really
even
bad,
that
right?
is for the recommendation is for high quality content, so it cannot be just scrolling media social or something. So it have to be educational, high quality content and supervised by an adult or caregiver. That's the recommendation. So for below 2 years old, no screen time other than video call or FaceTime.
Right.
Other above 2 years old, until around primary school, only maximum 1 until 2 hours supervised screen time. Now the thing about screen time is it because screen, they tend to be tempting, of course, and then they were designed to grab the full attention of the kids.
Right.
So like the focus of the kids, it was supposed to be for other stimulation. Like fine motor, like gross motor, like focus. Now it only focus on one thing. So there will be a lack of skill, milestone from the kids. So it will affect the cognitive skill in the future. So that's the thing. And then that doesn't happen also for the kids, even for us also. Sometimes when we do a lot of scrolling and in the gadget, sometimes we lack of focus. Sometimes we forget things. Because it's too much stimulation for us also as an adult.
And high quality content would be like the singing channel,
the
like
singing.
Ping Fong.
So
Miss Rachel.
Of course, you have to follow the sing also, the song also, to become a high quality.
So
content.
those are actually still acceptable.
Yeah, those are acceptable. Yes.
Okay, so this is there's a fine line there. You're not just watching your iPad, or just the kids are not just doing that, but they're just also watching something that is of good quality, which is something.
So, Doctor, I would like to ask this question in order from your experience when children with obesity come into your practice and become your patient. What do you tell the parents? How do you usually what kind of advice do you give them to be able to help their children in terms of helping them to get active?
Well, first, usually for the obese, of course, I will have a nutritional intervention. Usually they have a special diet for the kids with obesity. And the second one is to have more physical activity, of course. But we have to see the kids as well, because one obese kid can be different with another obese kid. Usually, because when they do more physical activity, they will do more, like it's more difficult for the body to follow through with this physical activity. Sometimes it will harm them to do more physical activity.
Right.
Like suddenly the obese kids running, or they will break the knees or something like that. So the activity will be like gradually up and up until a certain level when the kids can be comfortable with the activity. And of course, if they need medication intervention, we will educate the parents to make sure that every day the medicine is taken by the kids. And of course, we have to prepare also the family and the parents. Usually, sometimes the most difficult thing is to prepare the parents, because obesity is not like common cold that will resolve within 1 week, right? Obesity, it's a condition like can take months or even years for the kids until they can go back to normal weight.
What kind of medication? Sometimes what happens when a child, as a consequence, has already become obese? Is it like high in cholesterol levels, or could they have like cardiovascular issues? What's the biggest risk factor?
Oh well, like diabetes. Diabetes, of course, we give the anti-diabetes medicine, or even like we can check their cholesterol level, their lipid profile. If it's too high, then we can give the anti-cholesterol medicine, or depending on how their condition is. So and then we have to monitor them like in the long term, of course.
Well, I guess it's best, of course, to invest in the physical activity of the kids.
There.
Balance is key from as early as possible, as Dr. Denta has already mentioned. So, Doctor, thank you so much for this educational experience. It certainly is motivating Aranga and I to become more active, right?
Yeah, of course.
We have to become more active, so they will become more active.
They will
right?
do the same.
That's right. So, See the Stories will continue after the break. Make sure you stay tuned with us. We have more just for you.